好了，今天 Loop Hero 先玩到这一边，我想要玩玩看那一个画画送的狐狸小游戏，不是小游戏，那个狐狸游戏。狐狸怎么叫？好，我其实，这一款游戏就很久以前按回车键开始，一进来立刻回车。好，设置。你
Are you awake? I thought I heard you get up.
Yeah, I'm awake. Sorry, I just can't sleep.
Are you thinking about him?
Yeah, a bit. Usually get back to sleep, my love. I'm fine.
No, it's okay. What else is on your mind?
I don't know. It seems weird, but I had one of the most vivid dreams of my life. I saw a fox on a snowy mountain, just looking confused and worried. Those eyes. I can't get those eyes out of my head. She was running in the windy snow, looking for something.
Do you think it has to do with you and what's been going on?
I don't know. It was just a dream, Rachel. They're not meant to make sense. A lot's happened the past couple days, that's all.
Well, if you're not going to sleep anyway, you should tell me. I want to hear.
All right.
视角的转动有一股说不上来的奇怪感觉，就是感觉我并不是以狐狸为中心，它有一个很奇怪的角度在那边。倒也不是说不好，只是有点不适应。
She couldn't stay, though. She had to find her other 2 children. So she took that path. She followed it towards something ancient. Something with answers.
The first tree， 所以是手术。
The fox looked high and low, searching for any sign of her cubs. Points of light showed the way to this ancient tree. It was as if each one had a story to tell, all their own. The land was trying to tell my story, too. I felt like I was right behind her the whole time.
这说明了这个游戏开发人员的关注点在哪边。 狐狸的屁屁。
Wasn't he like a lumberjack?
That's one way of putting it. If wood was a canvas, then a carving knife was his paintbrush. Even after working a 50-hour week, even after his hands were more splinters than skin, he would bring home the nicest piece of Alaskan weeping cedar and make me toys. That wooden train was the first toy I can remember, and I loved it. I just knew from a young age I was going to be a lumberjack, like my father.
Oh.
My teenage years were full of sketching, angst, and trouble. I wasn't popular or unpopular. Maybe just forgettable. I guess that gave me a sense of freedom. So I hung out with crazy kids, doing crazy things, even though I mostly just watched the chaos ensue. We did it all. Put fireworks in mailboxes, hide roadkill in people's garages, break windows of the barber shop in Anchorage. My dad was furious, but he was so busy working he couldn't do much to stop me from going out.
I think being an adult means there's no one to stop you making hard decisions. He had to make a living, and he couldn't be in two places at once.
Yeah, I realize that now. But at the time, I was sure he was more interested in growing his business than what was going on with me. He was working another late night, and my friends were over, saying how bored they were and how they had come all the way out to my house for nothing. One of them mentioned how that old, ugly beyond belief truck was still in the garage and how we should take it for a spin. I was only 15, so I kind of fought it for a while. The next thing I knew, we were careening around the mountain path, rocks spitting onto the sides of the cliff, while my dad's cringe-worthy bluegrass blared out the speakers. I drove while my friends were in the back of that yellow and purple truck, throwing beer bottles and trash at anything remotely interesting. Felt like I was soaring in the air with borrowed wings. But all good things have endings. A cop outside of Eagle River pulled us over after he saw us in a bottle rocket into someone's yard. What followed was a long night of talking to disappointed adults and feeling smaller than ever.
我以为他要花时间讲狐狸，结果都在讲自己。 个游戏可以做那个吗？雪狐整个人栽到地里的动作应该是没办法，应该说整只狐才对。他说我刚刚应该从那边直接跳下去。那个是亮亮。哇！所以这就是一个跑跑跑听故事的作品，看起来是这样。重点是我就想看狐狸蹦蹦跳跳。太神啦！如果你看到一个只穿着兜裆裤的日本人，你会想带他去神社吗？我靠，瀑布声有多大？不行了，这里声音好大。修蛋姐的哭啊，这里该不会是？ 把蝴蝶给我摆那么远？修蛋姐了，为什么我刚刚有蝴蝶 buff 了还跳不上去？干嘛把蝴蝶射那么远啦？哦，为什么这里不直接摆一个蝴蝶？哎，蝴蝶 buff 可以叠吗？要3组蝴蝶才上得去，那也就是说，是要我先拿这一个吗？妈的，这一个蝴蝶我就跳不到。啊，软烂。好嘞，等一下。
My friends would laugh about that night and talk about how crazy it was. And I laughed along, pretending it didn't bother me. But it did. I imagined my friends growing old in the bush, unable to find that thrill in those godforsaken ice fields. It's like those mountains were a literal wall, keeping me from leaving, where all I would have to look forward to are lumber yards and evening beers. I had to climb over. That was my only goal for a long time. If there was some way I could take my love of drawing and turn it into a way of escape, nothing would make me happier. I wanted to create instead of tearing trees down. I wanted to move to the lower 48, not because I hated it there in Alaska, but I hated the idea of it. It's like all of that spite inside me had created this monster which followed me around my whole teenage years. I put so much energy into doing what others didn't expect of me. Why did I do that?
There's one fact you're forgetting, though. If you didn't have that fire in you, we probably would have never met.
you're absolutely right. Maybe the destination is all that matters in the end. But then why am I awake? Why am I seeing this fox go on her journey? And why can't I stop thinking about my dad?
男主角睡起来就一直说跟狐狸有关的梦话，是睡糊涂了吗？哦，
Even at my most distant, at the times when I detested him the most, he kept reaching out. For a year straight, he asked me every week when we were going camping. I thought he was just dense. Eventually, to shut him up, I agreed. We carried out the worn lawn chairs from the garage and set up a cinder block campfire at the site we'd always used behind the house. We walked down the mountain path, talking in the warm sunshine we only got a couple months of the year. Those 3 obsidian rocks shimmered alongside the shore, almost like sparklers pressed against a dark window. I'll never forget that wet stone on my feet, or how those massive mountains looked even bigger in the lake's reflection. I felt small, but grateful. As the sun set, my dad found something I hadn't seen for a long time. The tree where I'd made my first carving when I was 6. I hadn't even carved it. My dad had helped me, but I still called it my tree. Something about seeing my name there made me open up, and we talked about everything that night in that old camouflage tent. I told him how much I loved sketching and design, and how it would be a dream to study architecture in Seattle. I told him how I didn't get along with my friends much anymore, but that I didn't mind being alone. He told me he was there for me, and he joked that if all he had to do was write my name on a tree to finally get me to talk, he would have left me carved logs with novels on them in front of my room every morning. I don't know why it took me that long to realize it, but it was then I knew how much he had sacrificed for me. On our property, there were old abandoned pieces of a shed and car long left unused. I used to ask him all the time who those people were that left all this junk, and I'm sure he got so tired of hearing it that he made up some elaborate stories how a brown bear ate them and haunted the woods afterwards. What's funny is I think it made those people seem more real, growing up thinking they were still hanging out like they couldn't say goodbye. I used to tell my friends how I could swear I saw spirits move near the water, and that always freaked them out. I guess it didn't bother me, because the way I saw it, they were normal people with old cars and sheds, just trying to figure out how to survive and be happy in the middle of nowhere. It was a cool thought that they didn't want to leave, but I was a weird kid.
Well, you had good company since those ghosts like living in a place where they were brutally devoured.
游戏要我做什么我是知道，但是这个地图有够大，我不知道第3个熟头要去哪里找，太大了。诶？没有引路风吗？好远。
Built a lot of stuff in his free time. If he wasn't watching fly fishing or reading Tom Clancy novels, he was carving something. He made tons of birdhouses. Not that he was into bird watching, but I think he really missed working and adding on to the home. He couldn't afford the time to build onto our own house. He would have to settle with watching birds move into their little homes. We kept an old mattress in the bed of that ugly yellow truck. So we would drive it deep into the woods and then watch the birds fly into their houses while the sun set. Usually it was accompanied by venison jerky or a cold Coke, but not a lot of talking, which is how we both liked it.
所以这款游戏是要干嘛？我也不知道，反正好像就是我们扮演一只狐狸，然后跑来跑去，然后挖东挖西，然后旁白就会开始讲故事，这样。其实我不太了解这之间的关联性。
We were happiest underneath the evergreens. We decided it was time to finally map out the hundreds of acres we lived on just to pass the time during the summer. He was only free in the evenings, so I would spend the day wasting time on dial-up internet and sketching, and then we would rush into the woods, pen and map in hand, before evening fell. Sometimes, the aurora borealis would cast a cold green glow on the mountainside, and we would finish our route underneath a twilight sky. Sometimes I was lonely during those summer days, but there was comfort in the routine.
A lot of teenagers aren't looking for the daily grind, though. There's nothing wrong with wanting to get out, to leave your childhood home. You wanted to progress, to make something of yourself.
Yeah, you're right. That house. I'm sure it's the same as how I left it. But then why does it feel so different?
I doubt you're the only adult to have looked back and asked that question.
奇怪，之前不是按了以后，然后就，为什么不能互动？刚刚石头，然后他好像，我现在该往哪里走？刚刚可能开启了某个地方，但是。他说我现在要回一开始那棵树那边，因为那个树，它之前是有一个藤蔓挡在那边，3个石头踩完了之后，应该那个藤蔓会开启。我现在根本想不起来那棵树在哪，好吗？
stood nearby, unfazed, like nothing was wrong. My dad is dead, and he's never coming back, Rachel. I can tell you these stories, but I can never reminisce with him again. He can never hold a grandchild that we'll probably never be able to have. I can never talk to him again, and I'll never be able to say I'm sorry for everything.
真的会让人想起来《死亡搁浅》某一段不停让人跌倒的斜坡。要命的斜坡。
I need to go to bed. I just can't talk about this anymore. Good night.
哦，
Joseph, you can't go to sleep feeling like this. I'm sorry for everything, and I know you need space, but I'm here for you. You don't need to feel so lost.
宇宙狐狸。
Joseph, have I ever told you what my mother was like?
那赛欧跑多久？
You have strength, Joseph, and you're not as alone as you think.
It's all just so pointless. Just waiting for life to happen. It's like having the home I always wanted is cursed out of my reach. The thought of being a parent myself. How could I do that when I couldn't even be a good son? I'm sorry. I know what you're saying. I just don't know how things will work out. These quiet hours will turn into years, and we'll wonder which roads passed us by.
Then we'll forge a new road together. Besides, I discovered for myself that one fateful morning where any hopeful road leads to. There may be thorns and mist, but it always leads to the same thing.
And what's that?
Family.
I'm so glad that you're part of my family, Rachel.
And I'm glad you're part of mine.
"还真的出现兔子了。 完全不知道要做什么，救命！好像没有办法上山。太陡了。这里我是要做什么？干，前面有隐形的墙壁，有隐形的墙壁。
喝一杯 QQ 奶奶，好喝到没铺茶。
好的，没有问题。请问甜度冰块？
正常。
耶，我卡关了，救命！哦，那只是生块。
fox knew her last cub would be waiting for her at the first tree. She was almost there. The rain cascaded onto the jade valley where the entrance to the tree was. Life was protected there, because that's where life began. It was now only a mother and a daughter left. Items from my life still dotted the ground as she moved closer to her destination and destiny.
哦，然后就给我掉到不该掉的地方。我本来想说应该可以跳过去，然后就没有。 比较头痛的是，我不知道这游戏有没有一个断点，然后我也完全不知道我的进度到底玩了多少。这是房屋吗？远处有一栋房，哦，漂亮。
My dad was super supportive with my college plans. To a point. Things were okay until this terrible accident happened. I guess a forklift flipped over due to a bad axle, and it crushed one of the workers there. My dad didn't eat for days, even though he wasn't directly involved. It devastated him. Not only did it hurt the business, but it just freaked him out. He would talk in his sleep, muttering things about firing people and saying sorry. One fateful day, he approached me, said that since my school search wasn't going well, I should finally be a man and take over the family business. He said one day he was going to die, and that all of his work, sacrifice, and even that man's life would be wasted in vain. I just lost it. Teenage me just exploded at the thought. I screwed up. I said things I shouldn't have. He was having a crisis, and I pretty much spit in his face.
这屋子的房顶是西瓜皮做的。 谢抖内。哦天哪，好远哦！啊，隐形墙壁。
BGM.
它不是游戏，你能不能好心一点提示我到底该往哪里走？救命！好歹像直达天柱的亮亮，直达天际的亮亮，像之前那样子很远就看得到也行啊。什么都没有。今天是圆周率日，绝对不是什么白色情人节。干培根大麦克买回家之后，咬了一口才发现里面根本没有培根。特素。我的头刚刚敲了麦克风。就说，既然3不给月，为什么不把隐形墙壁设得低一点？对啊。又来了，隐形墙壁，上不去。哦，空气墙。远道湖。我刚刚在悬崖上面，应该有看到这把有。啊，好累啊！
Was that the last time you talked to him?
No, I called on holidays, and he would call on my birthday. I guess we acted like nothing ever happened, which was stupid. Didn't want to ask about his lumberyard, and I'm sure he didn't want to ask about my job search. I never went back and visited. I think the last conversation we had was about what movies we had seen and what exactly a best boy is in the credits. I thought he would be here so much longer.
Oh, 场景设太大，然后那里一大块根本就不是正确的路，在那边绕半天。啊！
In the distance, the first tree illuminated the wasteland. She couldn't go home anymore. She did the only thing she was capable of. Moving forward. My dad died alone in the middle of the wilderness. I should have been talking to him more. I should have done a lot of things differently.
If the first tree on earth brought life with it, if it taught the birds to sing and fly and showed saplings how to grow, what could it do for us?
Tree 3
第一棵树可以为我们做什么？有树干。
There was a letter I received yesterday from a name I didn't recognize, with a quote I can't stop thinking about. Death is not the opposite of life, but a part of it. More and more, I'm realizing one important truth. Each of us have our own journey to the first tree, but sometimes I'm not sure I'm ready to take that first step.
You already have my love.
干，不然我要打什么？我也不知道我要打什么。Send the news。5531次。
I guess her journey was over. But I have no idea. It was only a dream. A distraction from tomorrow.
I don't think dreams normally bring back to memory so many important feelings. Maybe it was just a dream, but it was also a gift.
Yeah, I suppose. But tomorrow we're getting on a plane to the last place on Earth I want to be. The only person that would have made the trip worth it is gone.
You're going to see him and be with him one last time before you say goodbye. I have one last quote for you by Emerson, sealed in an imaginary letter from me to you.
梦的解析，你想干
It
嘛
is the secret of the world that all things subsist and do not die, but only retire a little from sight and afterward return again. Go to sleep, my love. We have a big day tomorrow, but I'll be there with you every step of the way.
Thank you. Thanks for listening. Good night, Rachel.
Good night, Joseph.
Ah. 我不想当人，我想当狐狸。我为什么要操控一个人？啊！我现在要干嘛？啊，还以为游戏已经结束了。不是哭啊！ 哦，救命！现在是要我干嘛？毫无头绪。MR。
What the hell?
也太快了。你终于累了，体力真好，跑那么久。 玩完了，这个游戏的时长其实比想象中短，差不多2个小时左右结束，然后就是步行模拟器，反正就是主角的心路历程，然后用那个回忆用那一个狐狸去给它带出来。虽然不太了解为什么要这样做，反正狐狸很可爱，玩完了。无之旅人。你想要提交对于第一棵树的看法到线上资料库吗？它可能会随机出现在其他玩家眼前。等一下哦，最后那一棵树刻在树上的字，该不会是其他？就是我们在打那一句话的时候，然后随机抽选，该不会是这样子？如果是这样子的话，那是不是其他玩家有机会看到 "I love you"？所以我抽到了还算蛮正常的嘛。所以要是抽选到了玩完了，刚刚中途一度想说先休息吧，结果看游戏感觉好像进度差不多了，就给它玩下去，就玩完了。游戏时速，各位看我的游戏时速。太完美了，87。反正我觉得这个游戏是蛮治愈的啦，这个游戏还蛮治愈的。那游戏性部分基本上没什么游戏性可言，就是看狐狸很可爱，如此而已。突然好奇，讨论区的截图上传，会不会有人分享他打了什么东西？可以看一下。这啥？A huge laser shootout at the end. Pretty compelling stuff. No. What? 嗯，嗯哼， 所以的确就是，的确就是其他玩家打的没错。如果有人写上 "Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down"， 好了，哦，今天要搭10点多的车去高雄，所以我要先休息啦。大家晚安。